Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you again. My name is Pat Huff. I'm a former middle school and high school principal in the northwest part of Houston, Texas, and having been retired for a while now and serving as an adjunct professor at currently at the University of St. Thomas in Midtown Houston. So let me talk with you today. We're going to continue on this path of saving the 95%. And what do I mean by that? Is we're talking about school choice. Soon we're going to be coming up on the Republican convention, and our date today is August 20th, 2020. And we're just getting through with the Democrat convention, and we're headed into the Republican convention, and lots of issues out there on the table. But I deal with education, and I'm going to stick with that without going into anything else. But let's talk about school choice, because you're going to hear about it if you happen to tune in and watch the Republican convention, and if they talk about education, then the talk is going to be how bad our public schools are, and how school choice is the only way to go in order to save them. And I contend that if we go that route, having vouchers and charter schools as being the primary method of school choice. Of course, we've always had private schools, and we have a new phenomenon taking place that is growing in popularity called homeschool. We talked about that last time. But primarily charter schools and vouchers as being a method of coming to the rescue of public education and giving parents a choice. And when we do that, I'm not saying that parents should not go that path, go that route. You have to do what's right for your own kid. I understand that. But when we talk about that as a solution for public education, is offering more and more opportunities for charter school development, or vouchers, then we're saying to the 95% that are in traditional public schools, you're on your own, and if you're not lucky enough to get into a charter school or get a voucher, tough luck. You're stuck in the bad traditional public school. Well, I refuse to believe that is where we should be in terms of offering a quality public education for all of our kids. So the problem is perception. The problem for most parents is this fact of my school is labeled a failure. And what I want to deal with today is to try to help those who may be new to this whole thing of the accountability system, the accountability picture, school ratings, basing a quality education upon the results of a standardized test, viewing a school in that way. And we have to get away from that, because it's a myth. The idea of school failure is a perception that has been portrayed upon the public through the outcomes of that school's standardized test that they could take every year. Nothing could be further from the truth, because all schools are working as hard as they can to educate their kids. And who has the most challenges? The most challenges are in our Title I schools, where we have a high degree of poverty. So, and always in those areas, you'll have charter school developments that will give parents an option to go to. So we have to understand how all this works and how this perception was laid. So I want to go back for those who don't know, because I've picked up so many new people following my videos and following what I put on Facebook or Twitter, that I think there's a need to retrace some steps and understand how we got to this point, that we can call one school good and one school bad based upon their outcomes on that state test that their kids take every year. So follow me for just a minute, and I will show you that school failure is a myth. It's one that has been manufactured and one that has been perpetrated on the public to make people feel that they have to choose a different option for their child other than the traditional neighborhood school. So back in 2002, we had No Child Left Behind come along. And pardon me if this is a review for you. If you already know this, great. but many don't. And written into No Child Left Behind was this thing called adequate yearly progress. And this was a failure mechanism that was put in that drove schools to failure. Nothing changed. The faculty didn't change. The kids didn't change. The leadership in the school didn't change. But all of a sudden, they found themselves at a point of failure. And how that happened was through the different subgroups that schools have, white, based upon ethnicity, white, black, Hispanic, Asian American, socioeconomically deprived, which are your Title I kids, special education, English language learners. All those were a different category in and of themselves. And they all had to make, as a group, they had to hit a percentage every year, and that percentage began to go up. So in 2002, the percentages were fairly low. Let me just draw an example for you. So let's go into 2003. For English language, arts, and reading, about 47% of the kids in each of those subgroups had to pass the test. And in math, it was like 33%, 33.5. Well, that was a fairly low percentage that everybody was pretty well able to make. Well, we had a thing called adequate yearly progress, which meant that percentage went up every year. And why did it go up? This is the critical thing for you to understand if you're going to understand that school failure is a myth perpetrated on the American public. That percentage went up every year from 2003 to 2012. And the reason why it went up is because at the very beginning of No Child Left Behind, it was decreed that by 2014, all students would be proficient on the state test that they took in their particular state. All students would be proficient. What did that mean? It meant that 100% had to pass. And so as we went through this, we saw this phenomenon taking place called school failure. So by 2011, that small percentage that was back in 2003 had grown to 80% in English language, arts, and reading, and 75% in math. And then by 2012, it was going to go to 87%, and in math, it was going to go to 83%. And we had a real crisis on our hands. Superintendents and school boards were going nuts. Principals were going absolutely berserk. Teachers didn't know what to do because they couldn't get their kids up to those percentages. Because that was a very high percentage as a group. Now, this is not the score they had to make on the test. This is the collective score of each subgroup that had to be made. So why did it go up so high? Because by 2014, they had to be perfect. They had to be 100%. And what happened then, if you can catch this, then you understand. This is all an agenda. School failure is a myth. Every school is doing well. They're trying hard. Some just have greater challenges than others, which is the whole discrimination issue involved in the accountability system that I talked about. So in 2012, President Obama did a quid pro quo. We've heard that word being bantered about, right? Well, he said, if you take the waiver, and we'll talk about more of this about the waiver next time, but if you accept the waiver to No Child Left Behind, then you won't have to meet that 100% mandate. I'll take that away. That's what President Obama did. But in order to get that, you had to accept Common Core. That's how the nation got put on Common Core. I don't care what you read. It was done through Race to the Top to get funds to help you during that time of economic crisis. And it was done through the waiver to No Child Left Behind. If your state accepted the waiver, then they had to go on Common Core. And we got away from that 100% mandate. That was coercion. The entire nation was put on Common Core through coercion. I want you to understand that. And we're still in it today. We have it in Texas. You have it in your state. It may go by a different name, but you've got it. We've got to get away from that, and we've got to get away from the accountability system. All right, we'll get back to you next time, and we'll talk more about the waiver. Good talking to you.